All right, I just finished setting up my Grammy's code for my furnaces. So, just to give a quick overview of how I have it laid out, I've got one iron furnace, I've got two stone furnaces, two copper furnaces, and one charcoal furnace. So for each set, I have a sign assigned to them and an output bin. Then I have my inputs for my metals and ores over here. I have an input for the wood for the charcoal over here. Um, so the way that I set up the code, pretty simple. Let's go and take a look at it. Um, it's going to first start with the iron. It checks the sign to determine the state of whether or not we want to run that particular section of furnaces or not. So if the sign says on, it's going to run it. The sign will dynamically change depending on what happens with the code. So it's going to analyze how many ingots I have in storage. And if the storage box is actually full, it's going to change the state of the sign from on to storage full, which will then trigger that first condition where it'll wait for every iteration of the loop. It'll recount the items, and if there's a little bit of room, then it'll resume processing. It'll change the sign state back to on. Then what I decided to do is, really basic. Just if the furnace doesn't have any items, that's actually this block down here. So this first block, we'll check to see if there's a finished item in the furnace. If there is, it'll pick it up and put it away. Using the in container count number of whatever count and then pick up crafted item block is a lot faster than this other block, which is craft at station pickup item. Because if you do this, your Grammy's just going to be waiting the entire duration of the furnace, and it won't execute any other code until the furnace is done processing that item. So that's why I have the rather than explicitly telling it to craft the item, I just check to see whether or not the item is done. So after it empties a finished item, it'll check to see if the furnace is empty. If it is, picks up the ore, puts it away. And that's basically it. If there's any sort of error, like if the hands are full something else, or the storage is empty and doesn't have any raw resources to put in or something, it'll just go to this exception on here. It'll change the sign to error, and it'll, just in case, it'll drop whatever it's holding to kind of reset everything. Once it does that, it'll then in the future skip over all iterations of the iron processing, but then the stone and the copper processing will still continue. And I have the stone and copper processing pretty much set up identically to the iron. The only difference is I have two furnaces instead of one. And actually, I need to move this right here because I wanted to empty both furnaces and then refill up both furnaces. Same thing with copper. Also, because iron takes so much longer than stone, I actually copied and pasted this entire block of iron processing. So I've got it first, but then after I execute the stone, I've got it again. And the reason for that is having that between the stone and the copper. Typically, the Grammy, well, let's go ahead and start it here. But the Grammy will start processing the iron, start processing the stone, start processing the copper, but then the iron will not be ready yet by the time he finishes all that. So he'll skip the iron, go back to the stone, and then the iron is still not ready, so it goes back to the copper, and then it's like, by then the iron's just sitting there for a while waiting to be picked up. So that's the reason why I have it repeated twice. Not the most efficient code ever. Way too many copy and paste stuff. I would have preferred to work a little bit more with loops and more, just a little bit more streamlined. But given the limited code options that we have in here, it's still pretty good, I think. Anyway, that's it. Just wanted to show off a little bit. I'm sure there's probably some other really way better ways of doing it, but this is the way I do it. Thanks.